If you served before 1990 and you're 65 or older, the VA may owe you up to $2,200 a month, tax-free, and they will never call to tell you. You don't need a combat wound to get it. You don't need a Purple Heart. Most veterans who qualify never file a single form. Stay with me until number 6, because that's the one almost everyone gets completely backwards. Number 1. This is a pension, not disability compensation, and that single difference is why so many veterans wrongly assume they don't qualify. When most people hear VA benefits, they picture a service-connected injury, something that happened in combat, a rating, a wound. This is different. The program is called the Veterans Pension, and it is needs-based. It exists for wartime veterans who are older or disabled and living on a limited income. You do not need a service-connected disability. You do not need to have ever seen combat. If your discharge was anything other than dishonorable, and you served during a recognized war period, you are in the doorway. For 2026, the basic pension pays a single veteran up to $17,441 a year. That's $1,453 a month. A veteran with a spouse or dependent gets up to $22,839 a year, or $1,903 a month. And here's the mistake that costs people. They hear pension and assume it's only for career military who did 20 years. It is not. A draftee who served 90 days qualifies just as easily as a lifer. Take Roy, drafted in 1968, 91 days at Fort Benning, never fired a shot in anger, discharged honorably, and for 30 years he told his own daughter he wasn't the pension type. He was. When he finally filed at 79, his first check was $1,453, and it back-paid to his intent to file date. I've watched Vietnam veterans go 2 decades, assuming they earned nothing because they were never wounded, while the money sat there, unclaimed, every single month. The wound requirement is a myth. This is about when you served and what you live on now, not what happened to your body. Number 2, the wartime window and why served before 1990 is the key phrase. To qualify, you need 90 days of active duty, with at least one of those days during a recognized period of war. Notice what that does not say. It does not say you had to fight. It does not say you had to go overseas. One day of your service just has to fall inside a wartime window. So what counts? The VA recognizes World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam era, which runs from February 28, 1961 through May 7, 1975, reaching back to August 5, 1964 for those who served outside Vietnam. Then there's the Gulf War period, which began August 2, 1990 and is still open today. Here's why before 1990 matters so much. If you served in the Vietnam era or earlier, you are almost certainly inside a wartime window already, and you are now in your 70s or 80s, squarely past the age 65 mark this pension requires. You are the exact person this was built for. The common error is a veteran saying, "I was stateside, I never deployed so it doesn't count." Wrong. A cook, a mechanic, a clerk who never left the base. If one day of active duty landed inside that Vietnam window, the wartime requirement is met. One man I helped, an aircraft mechanic in San Diego from 1970 to 1972, had his claim in his own head denied for 40 years because he never crossed an ocean. His enlistment sat dead center in the window, and he'd been walking past roughly $17,000 a year. Pull your DD 214 and check your dates against those windows. That one piece of paper is the difference between qualifying and walking away from $2,200 a month. Number 3, aid and attendance, which is where that $2,200 figure actually comes from. The basic pension is the floor. But if you need help with daily living, bathing, dressing, cooking, managing medications, or you're largely confined to your home, the VA adds an enhanced payment on top. It's called aid and attendance, and it is the part almost nobody knows to ask for. For 2026, a single veteran who qualifies for aid and attendance can receive up to $2,424 a month. A veteran with a spouse can reach up to $2,874 a month, over $34,000 a year tax-free. That's where $2,200 a month sits, comfortably in the middle. Here's the mechanism because it matters. The VA takes your maximum rate, subtracts your countable income, and pays you the difference divided by 12. The higher your care needs, the higher your ceiling and the bigger your check, These rates took effect December 1st, 2025, run through November 2026, and rise every December with the same cost of living bump as Social Security. The costly mistake here is filing for the basic pension and never checking the aid and attendance box, leaving $1,000 a month on the table because no one mentioned the enhanced tier existed. One widower I sat with had been collecting the basic $1,453 for 2 years, while paying $4,200 a month for an aide to help him bathe and dress. When we added the aid and attendance evidence, his check jumped to $2,424, nearly $1,000 a month he'd never claimed. If you pay for in-home care, assisted living, or a nursing home, you almost certainly should be applying at this level. And keep number 6 in your mind while I say this, because that enhanced payment does not only apply to the veteran. That's the part people give backwards, and I'll show you why in a minute. Number 4. The income test and why I make too much is usually wrong. This is a needs-based program, so there is an income limit, but the limit is not measured the way you think. The VA doesn't just look at your gross income, it subtracts your unreimbursed recurring medical expenses first. That's the rule that changes everything. Out-of-pocket costs for prescriptions, doctor visits, Medicare premiums, insurance premiums, in-home aids, and assisted living can all be pulled out of your countable income. So a veteran drawing $2,000 a month from Social Security who looks too rich on paper can pay $3,000 a month for memory care, and once those medical costs come out, their countable income drops to near zero. Suddenly they qualify for the maximum. Let me give you the real shape of it. A veteran and spouse with $40,000 a year in income who spend $38,000 a year on assisted living end up with almost no countable income, and the pension fills in behind it. Even the Medicare Part B premium, running about $185 a month in 2025, more than $2,000 a year, comes straight off the top. The mistake that costs people most is self-disqualifying. They glance at the income limit, see their Social Security check, decide they earn too much, and never apply. One couple told me flat out, "We bring in $44,000, we're over," until we counted the $39,000 they paid the memory care facility, and their countable income landed under $1,000. They never subtracted their medical bills, because nobody told them they could. If you have serious ongoing care costs, do not screen yourself out. Write down every medical expense you pay out of pocket over a year. That number is your key to the door. Number 5. The net worth myth, and the 2 things that don't count. Beyond income, there's a net worth limit, and this is where a lot of proud veterans talk themselves out of thousands of dollars. For 2026, your net worth must be below $163,699. That sounds like a hard wall, until you learn what the VA leaves out. Your primary home does not count. The house you live in, no matter what it's worth, is excluded. Your car does not count. Your personal belongings and furniture, excluded. So a veteran who owns a paid-off home worth $400,000 and has $30,000 in the bank is nowhere near the limit, because the house is invisible to this calculation. The mistake here is the veteran who says, "I own my home, I've got some savings, I'm clearly over the line." No, one 82-year-old told me he obviously didn't qualify a $500,000 house free and clear, plus $45,000 in a CD. Strip out the house and the car, and his countable net worth was $45,000, well under the ceiling. He'd have qualified a decade earlier. Add up your countable assets, bank accounts, investments, stocks, but leave the roof over your head and the car in the driveway out of it. Most seniors on a fixed income who've paid off their house land well under that $163,000 ceiling. One warning: the VA has a 3-year look back on assets you gave away to qualify, so don't try to shuffle money right before applying. Gifting a grandchild $50,000 can trigger a penalty period of several months with no benefit at all. But if your real countable net worth is under the limit, and most people's is, that box is already checked. Number 6. The one almost everyone gets completely backwards. Here it is. When the veteran passes away, most families assume the pension dies with him. It does not. The surviving spouse can qualify for a benefit of their own. It's called the survivor's pension, and a widow or widower who never served a day in uniform can receive it based entirely on their late husband's or wife's wartime service. For 2026, a surviving spouse can draw a basic pension, and with aid and attendance, that surviving spouse can reach up to roughly $1,800 a month, tax-free, for the rest of their life. Think about how backwards the common assumption is. A widow in her 80s, living alone, paying for in-home care, convinced she has no VA benefits because she was never in the military, when her husband's 90 days of Vietnam-era service entitles her to a monthly check right now. I met one, Eleanor, 84, paying $2,800 a month out of savings that were nearly gone. Her late husband had served 2 years in the Army in 1969, and she'd never filed because that was his, not mine. Her survivor's benefit with aid and attendance came to about $1,800 a month. It stopped her from spending down to nothing. That is the single most missed benefit in this entire program, and it's missed because grief and paperwork arrive at the same time and nobody tells the family to file. So if you're the surviving spouse of a wartime veteran, or you're helping a parent who's now widowed, this applies to you directly. Do not assume the door closed when he died. It didn't. The service still counts, and the money is still owed. So here's your one action step this week. Pull the DD-214, check the service dates against those wartime windows, and file VA Form 21P527EZ online at va.gov or by mail to your regional pension management center. And file an intent to file, Form 210966, first, so your effective date is locked in today instead of months from now. That one form matters more than people realize. File it today, and a claim you finish in 3 months still pays back to today. Wait, and those months are gone. Every month you wait is a check you don't get back. If this helped, subscribe and share it with a veteran or a widow who needs it. Because the ones who find out in time are the ones who file.